Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Marcus Rosa, a.k.a. Mazuma TV. Back at y'all with some more boxing talk, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive day. I'm just chilling by this beautiful Philadelphia weather, man. Look at the scenery. It's absolutely amazing out here. I figured I'd tap in with y'all real quick to discuss what's currently going on in the boxing world. You see what I'm saying? I was just tapping in with Bill Haney's interview with Andre Ward, man. Go check that out. That was a great interview, man. Deep insight into fatherhood, which is something I'm really big on. If y'all know, y'all know. You know what I mean? And of course, I'm big on the boxing world as well. Obviously, that's what you're here for. So it was a great quality interview, man. I seen a little bit of pushback from Andre Ward. You know what I mean? Asking great questions, man. Andre Ward is absolutely phenomenal with the interview. So much kudos. You know, much props to the son of God, SOG. You know what I'm saying? All time great legend. You feel what I'm saying? And Bill Haney has been taking part in some legendary things as well, man, especially with how the way he's been moving his son. But he said some things that definitely had the boxing world, you know, basically talking, you know what I mean, going crazy. As Bill Haney usually does, man. He's a hell of a promoter, hell of a manager. He definitely knows how to stir up the pot. Now, one of the biggest fights that Devin Haney is aligned with right now, of course, and it has been like this for a little while now, is Shakur Stevenson. You know what I mean? At one point in time, you would look at them as somebody, you know, they brothers, they came up in the amateurs together. You know what I mean? Shakur spent time with the Haneys. You know what I mean? Went as far as to staying over their house and all types of stuff. And Shakur Stevenson credits them for giving him motivation. You know what I mean? Somebody who came from the trenches, he goes over to the Haney's, you know, mansion and shit out there in Vegas, and he said that motivated him to want to do better for himself in his life. So they definitely had some sort of connection. But according to Bill Haney, he says it's up between Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, which is something I love. Nowadays, there's a whole lot of friendship, a whole lot of brotherhood in boxing, you know, with guys that are in or around each other's division, you know, and things of that nature. So that is a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? That is something good to hear. You see what I'm saying? But what I really wanted to get into was what Bill Haney has said in regard to the fight with Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney and whenever it happens. You see what I'm saying? And according to Bill Haney, he says that Shakur Stevenson is easy work. Easy work, he calls Shakur Stevenson. And went as far as to say that the fight between Devin and Shakur will be easier for Devin than the Vasyl Lomachenko fight. Now, I know that's going to catch a lot of people by surprise, you know, especially since, you know, Shakur Stevenson's latest performance against Teofimo Lopez. A lot of people going to be like, man, that's cap, man, that's cap. You know, man, there ain't no way. Man, he can't beat Shakur. You know, Shakur's better than Vasyl Lomachenko, you know, things of that nature. And you may have a valid argument. You know what I mean? I'm not going to shit on what you're saying. But one thing about Bill, man, he's definitely going to say some things that get underneath people's skin and try to throw off their game plan and stuff like that. But he provided some reasons. You know, you could tell he didn't want to say, you know, everything. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to give out all the details as to why he feels like his son comes out victorious. But, you know, one thing that he did say was, you know, speaking about Devin Haney being the aggressor. You know what I'm saying? Went back to talk about the sparring sessions. And I know those sparring sessions was a long time ago, but, you know, he's still holding on to that. And he's saying that Devin Haney will walk Shakur Stevenson down. Now, this is what I personally think Bill Haney is confident in about his son when it comes to the Shakur Stevenson fight. And I think it's something that Shakur Stevenson is concerned about as well. And I think it's the size advantage. You know, Shakur Stevenson is somebody who moved up to 140 recently, but he's not really a 140. Like, I brought up this point a few times, but it's still very much relevant. This dude was eating steak the week of the fight when he was competing at 135 pounds. I forgot which fight it was. I don't know if it was the Haratunyan fight. It may have very well been that one. But this was before Cepeda, you know what I mean? This was before Padley. This is when he was still with Top Rank. So I'm under the impression that it was the Haratunyan fight because this is when Top Rank was putting out episodes on YouTube in the lead up to his fight. So it had to be Haratunyan. This man was eating steak the week of the fight. When I see that, and anybody that understands how, you know, red meat is pretty much bad for weight cuts and, you know, it sits in your system for a little while, it's hard to digest and shit like that. You will understand that if you eating steak the week of the fight, man, it's easy to make weight. You see what I mean? And Shakur done made weight and been like 133 pounds and things of that nature. So I think that's something that Bill Haney, being the strategist that he is, a great matchmaker that he is, I think he understands that he has a significant size advantage over Shakur Stevenson. Devin Haney, he definitely balloons up in weight. He definitely gets into the 60s. I heard he was getting into the 60s when he was rehydrating from 140 pounds. I heard Regis Prograde complain about that. Oh, Devin Haney was 165 the night of the fight. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know who could confirm that. But if that is the case, Devin Haney's a big boy. You feel what I'm saying? Pause. So I think that's something that's, concerns Shakur Stevenson as well. That's why he keeps bringing up the rehydration clause thing. So do I think Devin Haney, is going to go all into that rehydration clause? Absolutely not. I think he understands that he needs that additional weight to have an advantage. He's not going to give up what he naturally, rehydrates up to give Shakur Stevenson some type of security. I just don't see that happening. And on some real shit, if you're so hell-bent on a rehydration clause, then just throw the fight away altogether, man. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if you're that insecure about your abilities of fighting at welterweight or going up against other welterweights who are elite just like yourself, then to just stay your ass in them smaller weight classes. It is what it is. Don't even bring up the idea of y'all fighting. But, I believe Bill Haney feels like his son could be the aggressor. He's stronger than Shakur. And when you look at those sparring sessions with, Shakur and Dev was definitely the aggressor. You know what I mean? And he was landing some big shots on Shakur Stevenson as well. So I think that's why they're confident. I don't think they're going to sit there, and try to play chess. I just don't see Devin Haney doing that. I think if he does, I think Shakur Stevenson is just a bit more intelligent. You know what I mean? I think he's a bit more better of a counterpuncher. I think he understands distance a little better than Devin Haney. You see what I'm saying? So I think if it comes down to the mind games, playing chess, I think Shakur Stevenson has that all day. But Bill Haney did mention that his son has a crazy toolbox. He says that he has a warehouse worth of tools. So that lets me know that they're gonna dig into their bag of tricks if that Shakur Stevenson fight were to happen. You see what I mean? But what's my opinion on the whole situation in terms of the fight being easier than Vasyl Lomachenko? I think he's saying that because Shakur Stevenson doesn't take the chances that Lomachenko does offensively. Like Shakur is not going to be the one to throw caution to the wind and be like, fuck it, and let the hands go and, punches and bunches. I don't see Shakur Stevenson really doing that. I think that he's a bit more cautious than that. He doesn't take as many chances. So if you're not taking as many chances, the more of a likelihood that you'll be safe in the ring or not be in as much danger. You know what I'm saying? I guess they feel like Shakur, he moves by a system. You know what I mean? And that's just what he goes off of. And, he picks his shots wisely. He doesn't, take unnecessary risk. So that's probably why they feel like that fight will be easier than Lomachenko, because with Lomachenko, if his back is against the wall or if he knows the fight is close, he going to run them numbers up, especially in them later rounds, and try to tee off on you. So that's why I think Bill Haney says that. Do I think that Shakur is easier than Vasyl Lomachenko? Absolutely not. But I understand where he's coming from at the same time from a stylistic standpoint. If you're in there with somebody who's a sniper and you're in there with somebody who has a fucking machine gun, they're both, very dangerous to be in there with. A sniper could take you out with one shot or just pick you apart one shot at a time. A machine gun, you know what I'm saying? If you had to pick one, are you going to go against the motherfuckers who got a machine gun and they letting off, 100 rounds, every 5 seconds? Or are you going to take your chance with that one guy who, letting one shot off every 30 seconds? You know what I'm saying? They're both deadly. But which one are you more likely to survive from? You see what I mean? Both could end up getting you murked. But if I had to take my chances, it's going to be the one who's, taking less shots. You feel what I mean? So I think that's what Bill Haney is getting at with that situation. But all in all, Shakur Stevenson, I feel like he's a more difficult fight than Lomachenko, because even though Lomachenko may take more chances, Shakur Stevenson is harder to hit. You know what I mean? Shakur Stevenson has a great jab in his own right. I know Devin Haney's used to having a superior jab, but Shakur Stevenson has a really good jab that could frustrate Devin Haney as well. You know what I mean? And with Devin Haney being the aggressor, it's going to give Shakur Stevenson more opportunities to, time him with some counters and things of that nature. But, that's Bill Haney just stirring up the pot, you know what I mean? Keeping his son name in the headlines. And, when that fight is made, man, if that fight is made, I'm going to say, because you never know with this boxing shit, I'm going to be very excited for that fight, man, because that's a fight right there that's going to go down in history. You feel me? I don't know how exciting the fight will be, but with as popular as Devin Haney is right now and as popular as Shakur Stevenson is right now, both of them being undefeated fighters, if they were to both face each other, especially if they still got their O, this shit is going to transcend, like, you know, this is gonna be one of the fights that the casuals talk about. So really looking forward to that fight being made. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Bill Haney's statements. Is the Shakur Stevenson fight easier than the Vasyl Lomachenko fight? You know what I mean? Does Bill have a point? Do you feel like, you know, Devin Haney will walk Shakur Stevenson down? Y'all let me know in the comments below, man. This is Marcus Rosa, aka Mazuma TV, signing off. I hope you guys have a blessed, beautiful one. I'm up out of here, man. Peace.